Welcome to Web3 Marketing Podcast. I'm Dasha, and this is our second season supported by Internet Computer. We're interviewing Web3 founders and marketing leaders from around the world. Tune in to listen to their insights and real Web3 marketing cases. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Web3 Marketing Podcast. Welcome to our new episode with Luke Dugdale. Luke, hi. Nice to have you here.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. I'm excited to chat with you about our today's topic. We're going to talk about raising funds from your own community for your Web3 or crypto project. We're going to talk about creating killer crowdfunding campaigns, and we will discuss how your startup funded is helping everyone to do this. I'm excited to chat with you. Let's start with a little bit of your background and how you came up with the idea of creating Funded.
So my background is in payments. I was working in payment software. I got familiar with open banking early on, and I started a company in open banking straight out of university, measuring open banking data. So I've always been passionate about payments and payment data and operations. And then I sold that company in 2021, and that was just around the time where ICP began. I was already sort of interested in blockchain technology because in the world of payments, it's a natural next step, especially for payment software engineers. And the more I became interested in it, the more I looked into it, the more I thought it was where I need to be headed. And I was very interested specifically in the ICP blockchain. And now here I am. So that was sort of the journey, the background that led me to ICP and to start building products there.
Yeah, I know you are part of ICP ecosystem together with your project Funded, right? And you're
Yes.
building on ICP. I wanted to ask you what brought you in the first place to ICP. You just said you got interested. Why exactly?
I mean, there's a lot of reasons. I think the wider projects that ICP is trying to do, which is essentially to rebuild internet infrastructure with blockchain technology at the core, is fascinating. It's sort of wider than maybe some of the other blockchains that exist already that are being developed. It's really trying to change the nature of web hosting, which to me is just tremendously exciting and fascinating. I got interested in the kinds of applications that could be developed on this kind of network. And originally, I started reporting on ICP and sharing articles about the different dApps that were being built, the different applications that could be built in the future. And in many ways, it's kind of where Funded started because I thought to myself, all of these different applications and use cases are going to need to fund themselves. So I thought I would start Funded shortly after this, a crowdfunding platform, primarily for ICP projects at first, and it kind of grew from there.
So you kind of had the idea to create Funded, first of all, for the ICP ecosystem, right? So like both the idea of building something on ICP and build it Funded, they kind of appeared together.
Yes, that was the original plan, help ICP projects raise funds. And then it became clear that there's many advantages to building on blockchain and ICP specifically that could benefit far beyond the ICP ecosystem and also far beyond Web3. And sort of that's when it became clear that we could establish ourselves as competitors to traditional crowdfunding platforms, Kickstarter, GoFundMe, and more. So that was the original embryo of Funded, but it's gone beyond that now. So it's exciting.
Awesome. We're definitely going to talk a little bit later about, you branching out of the ICP ecosystem and helping the projects from other chains as well. But first, can we just like go back to how it all started? So, okay, you got the idea that you want to build this fundraising tool for ICP startups. What happened after?
So we thought, okay, we're going to build the basic smart contract. It's a escrow system, which basically holds the funds in escrow for the duration of the crowdfunding project. So the way it works, it's what we call an all or nothing model. The funds come in to the smart contract and from a range of participants. If the crowdfunding round is successful, it reaches its goal, then project participants get their funds. And if it's not successful, then everybody gets reimbursed. And there's a 30-day timeline for the crowdfunding round to hit its targets. So that's the smart contract that we built. It was kind of the core heart of the product. And then we thought, okay, well, how are we gonna launch this? we actually did a crowdfunding campaign for the crowdfunding platform as a first benchmark. So the first crowdfunding campaign was for us. The platform was originally called Crowdfund NFT, and worked really well. And I think it inspired a first batch of ICP companies to use this platform to fundraise, and they did. And then one by one, more and more projects on ICP decided to raise funds using our platform. So that's how it began.
This episode is supported by Internet Computer, and we want to tell you about their amazing Definity Grant program. We've actually received their community grant ourselves. So if you are a developer, researcher, or educator working on blockchain or AI technology, you can receive this grant too. The Definity Grant program can give you up to $100,000 in funding, as well as support and exposure through their ICP ecosystem. You can read more about the grant in the description down below. And if you decide to apply, fill out our form. We will chat with everyone who applies and recommend the best projects to ICP. Don't miss this chance to get funding and join the community of innovators. You mentioned that the name was different before, right? Crowdfund NFT. Now you're just funded. What was the reason for that rebranding?
There's a few reasons. The first reason, the truth, which is maybe a bit sort of, was that we didn't take, there wasn't much consideration in the first name. We were thinking, let's just build this quickly, get this out quickly. Crowdfund NFT is kind of, it's in a nutshell, it's exactly what we do. We crowdfund companies using NFT technology and smart contract software. So we thought, at least it's not going to be confusing. But over time, it became first was a bit of a long name. It's a bit of like people were confused. Were we an NFT launchpad? Were we like an NFT project? Which we're not. And so there was a little bit of that. And there was also a wider point, which was we wanted to focus on the crowdfunding exclusively. That's really what we're trying to do here. NFTs were a distraction, or NFT in the name was a distraction. And also going beyond the Web3 community, which is something else that we're trying to do and help to crowdfund for all kinds of projects that have nothing to do with Web3. I think it was important that we mark that in our name and in our branding, and funded just sort of a cleaner, smoother name that I think embodies what we're trying to do. And the rebranding was a big success. I think everyone really liked it in the end. So that's why we did it. It felt right, basically.
Yeah, it definitely feels right to me right
Yeah.
now as well, the name you have now. I also really love, this is my literally favorite, when founders come to the podcast and they share how they like, I was playing with this idea and now I have a business out of it. So
I
your
mean,
story is kind of the same.
you have to get it out quick. You have to see how people react and go from there.
Yeah, yeah. And then your legal team comes to you and you're like, yeah, oh, we didn't really think about all of that.
Of course.
Yeah, yeah, but it's all right. What about the space in general? It is pretty competitive, right? The
Oh yeah.
crowdfunding space, a lot of tools, launch pads, all kinds of things. How do you see the space right now overall? If you could just, give us your opinion, and where is the place of funded?
Sure. So first of all, the crowdfunding space, you're right. It is extremely packed. It's full of stuff. But it's important to note that it is growing. So despite the fact that it's full of companies and full of options, it is growing tremendously. Crowdfunding is becoming way more popular than it was, and I think it will continue to do that in time. So there's plenty of room for activity. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that funded is fills a specific gap in the crowdfunding market, which is cryptocurrency based crowdfunding. And there's a bunch of advantages to that. The first is that it is tamper proof, it is smart contract based, which means that the funds can't be tampered with, essentially. There's a bunch of scandals that came out specifically with GoFundMe, but there's others as well, where they decide to deroute the funds into other projects. There was the Canadian truck driver incident. $9 million was donated to Canadian truck driver. I think they were protesting, essentially. But they decided to give the funds to other charities. We don't think that's right. We don't think that's correct. If you donate funds towards a specific cause, you have to know that it's going to that cause, and that's what smart contract technology is for. So that's the first thing. It's tamper proof. Second thing is that it has financial incentives. So traditional crowdfunding, Kickstarter, GoFundMe, you come in, you give money to a specific project, and they might offer some rewards to you or some sort of badge or any, a typical example is a Kickstarter project. You'll get, let's say it's a theater group, they're launching a new theater company. You're going to get free tickets to the theater shows that they do, something like that, some kind of rewards. Problem is, there's no way for you to create financial incentive out of that. And with a platform like Funded, your rewards are tied to your NFTs, and there's a whole secondary market for those NFTs. So people have used it as well as a means to create profits. They've maybe I don't want the theater tickets, maybe I don't want the reward that's being delivered, but I know that it will be in high demand one day, so I will participate in the crowdfunding campaign to collect that reward, and I will sell that reward later down the line when it makes me a profit. And that's something we find a lot in our participants, and it's proven to be extremely successful. We did the numbers, and if you'd have participated in every single campaign from the beginning, you're up 260%, and that's on current floor prices. Doesn't mean you should participate in every campaign, and doesn't mean that you're going to turn a profit all the time. Probably not, but you can. And that's something that doesn't exist in traditional crowdfunding. And the third and final reason is that you can do very easy global crowdfunding. So let's say you're a project that wants to launch on Kickstarter. I'm launching my project in pounds sterling, or in America in dollars. And that means that I'm restricted to the participants who need to have access to dollars or need to have access to pounds. And, they don't just need to have access to those funds, they need to have easy access to payments. The platform has to be able to accept that payment method. It can be quite complicated. With cryptocurrency, I can launch my campaign and it's available to anybody in Japan just as easily as it's available to anybody in Australia. It's, as long as you can buy crypto in that country, one way or another, then it's going to be an easy way for you to participate. And that's something we found as well, is that the crowdfunding campaigns on Funded have a tremendous spread in terms of the jurisdictions and geographies that participate in the crowdfunding campaigns. So those are the three benefits. It's tamper-proof, it creates financial incentive for participants, and it's global crowdfunding. And you might say that, well, there's other cryptocurrency crowdfunding platforms, but there's a lot of benefits to building specifically on ICP that make it cheap, that make it all automated, and that ultimately make it hosted 100% on chain as well. So we're doing pretty well because of it. So yeah.
Okay, I have the question about the first one, actually. Do you position yourself also as a crowdfunding tool for non-crypto projects?
Absolutely.
Because
Yes, 100%. Well, I'll give you an example. And this is we've had some film executives reach out to us and say, I want to crowdfund my film with the Funded platform. And I want to distribute NFTs to everybody who participates in the crowdfunding campaign. And then I want to distribute earnings on the films to those NFT holders. And it works quite well because either you can hold your NFT, keep it, and get the earnings from the film, or you can sell the NFT to someone who thinks that the earnings will be worthwhile. And so it's a good way for film creators to fund their projects. They don't have to go through the big studios. And that's just one example, but I think it applies to all creative endeavors, essentially, who are often quite constrained in how they fund themselves. And crowdfunding is a fantastic way to get what they want done. And it's successful on Web2. It has been for the past decade or so. And it will be even more successful on Web3 because it's easier to distribute rewards and funds to people who have participated. And there's a whole secondary market that comes out of the NFT rewards. So it's a slow adoption process. We're getting a lot of inquiries. A lot of people are kind of hesitant right now, especially because of the bear market and the status of crypto in the world. It's not as popular as maybe it used to be, but there's some real fundamental benefits to doing it via cryptocurrency, and those will eventually play out in the future. We're pretty confident that's how it's going to go. So yeah.
yeah, we just need for a couple of more economic systems to collapse, and then people will understand what are the benefits of crypto.
I think long term, when there's fundamental benefits to using a piece of technology, sort of clouds around it or nonsense evaporates. Ultimately, that's what will win in the end. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's really interesting that you're kind of playing the bigger game
Mm,
than other crypto-related crowding platforms.
for
I
sure.
think it's really good. And overall, any company that has young or tech-savvy audience, they might be interested in this.
For sure.
It's really cool.
And we're finding more and more. I mean, our growth is it's expanding beyond Web3. It's starting to, and the adoption is slow. It always will be with crypto, but I think eventually it will see its true fruition. So we'll see, and I think we're going to see all kinds of projects get launched on through funded, and I'm really excited for it. I love it. Funding or helping to fund creative endeavors. It's fun. So we'll see how it goes.
Awesome. We're gonna go to the part where we're helping people to fund their project soon and discuss like all the advice that you have for people who are interested in crowdfunding. But before we do that, we usually look at the marketing aspect from different angles because it's a podcast about Web3 marketing. So I also wanted to ask you about your own marketing experience with Funded. You said that you're branching out of ICP ecosystem. I wanted to ask first, did ICP play any role in your like initial growth within the ecosystem? Did they help? And the second thing I really want to know is like, how are you right now getting more project outside of ecosystem? What are your marketing challenges, growth challenges that you're dealing with?
Sure. So first thing, ICP works quite well at the beginning because we came in very early, and so we helped to fund some of the bigger projects on ICP very early, and that
Could you
helped.
give me the names? I'm actually very
Well,
interested in examples.
we have Kinnick, great example. They were one of our first crowdfunding. It's like a ICP based search engine. You can search smart contracts on ICP. We have Cubetopia, one of the bigger games on ICP. Cosmic Crafts, another gaming company. Or some of the recent ones, we have Sears. It's like a competitor to Twitter, but ICP based. And there's a bunch more. I'm just naming a few. So yeah, that's kind of how it started. And in terms of our own marketing, everything's been organic so far. The good thing about running a crowdfunding platform is a lot of your marketing relies on the people who are doing campaigns because they're marketing your platform for you by marketing their crowdfunding rounds. So it's all been organic so far, and that's how we like to keep it. I think. I mean, we obviously we do all the efforts we can. We try and get into as much press as we can, and we try and share our vision and our idea as much as we can. But ultimately, it's organic. If the projects that are unfunded are good and people want to participate, then they will learn about funders and they will understand what the platform's all about. That's how we've done it so far, and I kind of think it's how we intend to continue. So just keep it organic, keep it authentic, and try your best. There's no real other way to do it.
What is your secret to organic growth? What, I don't know, three key pillars or something like this? Because when you say we're keeping it organic, it feels really nice, like everyone wants to keep it organic instead of paying for marketing. But like, what is your way to do it?
I think it's about everything we do is public, is kind of my approach. Like if we have a new feature, I'll start discussing it early online on Twitter, on Discord, where my audience is or where our audience is. And I'll just say, what do you think of this? What do you think of this idea? Give me some early feedback. Here, we've launched this. I like to, all the discussions I have, it's almost like you're running a company publicly. Everything that we do in house, well, not everything, but a lot of what we do in house gets shared publicly online on all of our channels. So we keep everybody engaged and aware of what's going on at our company, what we're developing, what we're launching, what we're releasing. And I think that's how you do it is just, you know, maybe I tweet from my personal account. I probably tweet 2 or 3 times a day, at least. From funded account, it's probably the same. On our Discord, we're talking all the time with our users, getting feedback, sharing stuff with them, ideas as well. It's not just, and you learn so much. They tell you what they want or what they need, and then you build it. So it's share as much as you can with the public about what you're doing and run your company that way. And it works quite well for me. So yeah.
Okay, moving on to our part where we discuss how to actually run a successful crowdfunding campaign, how to run a killer campaign. I would like you to share your advice not only about like how to run a campaign on funded. I think you can do it just in general, like key things, and then maybe some hints for funded as well.
For sure, for sure. Well, I think you're right. I think really it's all the same. Whether you're doing a crowdfunding campaign on Funded or anywhere else, the tricks to run a successful campaign are the same. The first is obvious, but I don't think a lot of people actually do it, which is it has to be a good campaign. You have to have something cool that you're offering. You have to have some great rewards. You have to have a vision that people can buy into. So that's the first thing. It has to be a good, solid campaign, which isn't as obvious as you might think, but that's the first thing. Second thing is, I've seen some great campaigns, really cool campaigns that don't even have any kind of public platform. They don't have a Twitter account. They don't have a Discord. They'll have a website, but that's about it. That doesn't work. You need to be sharing the information with your audience or your early audience. And you need to be doing that regularly. You need to be doing that every day during the campaign. And the third thing is you need to be producing material. Videos with campaigns have 40%, I think it's 40% higher likelihood of succeeding. Just a video. That's it. And, you need to be sharing information in bite-sized chunks, like videos of yourself, live streams, Twitter spaces, any kind of discussion, public forum. You need to be sharing across multiple channels. You need to be doing it regularly. And a mailing list might help. Just have a solid campaign and share it regularly, consistently with your audience. And it's the best you can do, and produce a video is the long story short. So, and there's actually a lot of agencies that can help with the crowdfunding campaign. I'm not sure that I particularly recommend agencies but the good thing is, look them up, because at the very least it will explain what the agency does for people who are trying to do a campaign, and then just follow that roadmap. If you don't want to do the agency approach, I can understand that. It's not always clever to pay a fee. Sometimes it works, but at the very least, figure out what it is that agencies are doing for customers, and repeat that. And that's what it is. There's also a big case to be made about anticipation. I often don't like it myself, because more often than not, it's like, well, how do I create anticipation without much foundation or fundamentals? Have a great campaign first, have a great marketing strategy second, and then try to create some anticipation, some hype. Don't do it the other way around, which is what a lot of crypto projects do. And maybe it works at the beginning, but ultimately it fails in the end. So, but yeah, those are the three pillars. That's kind of how it goes.
You mentioned the most important thing, the offer, right? Offer something cool. What should a project do if they don't have the product yet? Which is most likely the case, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
What to offer? Maybe you can give us some examples what other startups were offering.
Yeah. Well, it's such a case by case basis that it's hard to say. The rewards they vary so much. But first of all, I mean, most projects will not have a product yet. So that's perfectly normal. That's fine. You can either offer the project in the future, you can offer early access to the project, you can offer discounts on the product or project, you can offer early shares or tokens or something like that, depending on the legislature for it. It's legally, that's a bit of a tricky one. It can depend. What else have I seen? I've seen things like, for example, for gaming, which is very popular on crowdfunding, in-game rewards, actually quite unique rewards that are specific to your project. Some fun stuff, some kind of cool creative ideas that people can buy into and that people can see. It might not even be a case of, I want this, but I can understand why someone would want this. And then I'll participate in the campaign, get my NFT, and if I think that other people will want it in the future or that there's value in it, I can always sell that on. So maybe it's not a reward from me specifically as a target audience. Maybe I don't want to play the game, but I can see why it will be popular amongst gamers. And so I'll participate in the campaign, grab my NFT, and maybe sell it in the future. So yeah,
So be creative, right? That's
be
also the
creative.
advice.
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's talk about the specifics of crypto funding,
Yes.
right? So it works a bit differently, right? Because like wallets, NFTs are involved, and like crypto folks in general, they have a little bit of a different culture and mentality. Speaking
For sure.
from a Web3 community manager perspective. So what do you think? Like, what may be the general advice, especially for all those founders that are super new in the space, right? They just coming
Mhm.
into the space, the launching project. So sometimes they're like not familiar with, the culture and how things are going on here.
Well, the culture in Web3 is all about ownership. So you have to incorporate into, well, you don't have to, but it would be wise to incorporate into your crowdfunding campaign some form of ownership sharing. Now, Often people think that means tokenization and sharing tokens. It doesn't always mean that. In our case, for example, we did a crowdfunding campaign where participants got early access to all the new projects in the future. And by getting early access, they might be able to participate in crowdfunding campaigns that are extremely popular when other people cannot. And we've seen that before. I've seen crowdfunding campaigns sell out before it even gets to public release because only the crowdfund NFT holders can participate for the first 2 hours. So it's to create some form of ownership, and that comes from either some kind of tokenization or shared sales structure, that kind of thing, or it comes from early access to a projects, or it comes from discounts, perks, benefits, some kind of you'll get, you'll get paid for whatever it is, you'll get some extra rewards for your participation or for your activity. So yeah, so the culture is comes from ownership, and you have to incorporate that somehow.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's a very good advice, like a core, absolutely core thing. I also wanted to ask you about your favorite campaign that you've seen on Funded.
Oh, let me think. I think my favorite one might have to be Cubetopia. Cubetopia is a game, is an ICP based game, and it's essentially very similar to Minecraft. What you build within the game, you own. So you own a piece of land, you own your building or whatever it is, and fascinating game, really interesting. I think it's going to do very well. And they launched a campaign about a year ago, I think, and it was the fastest selling campaign on Funded, probably because it was other people's favorite one as well. And what they offered was a founder's pass, and that gave you access to a bunch of things. But one of the things that I was particularly excited about was it actually gave you an island, a piece of land within Cubetopia world, Cubetopia land. So, and it might seem a bit sort of not tangible or a bit metaversy, and it is, but actually really exciting to me and really cool and creative, fun. People loved it and did really well. So that's probably my favorite campaign. Yeah.
Who doesn't want an island, right?
Well, I haven't done much with it, but I've got an island somewhere in some Cubetopia world. So that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's definitely cool. That's definitely cool. So basically, your target audience and your community, it's people who are doing the crowdfunding. So it's mostly founders or CMOs of the Web3 projects. Do you do something from the side of Funded to form a community out of them, or like any types
Oh,
of community building that you are doing?
absolutely. So first thing we do is that everybody that has a campaign gets a dedicated channel on our Discord. And so our Discord is now populated with more or less a lot of people that have participated in all kinds of campaigns. So you get a dedicated channel where you can speak to everybody who's participated in other campaigns, and that's proving particularly interesting because essentially you get eyeballs on your projects. We share the project as well. We make sure that there's some marketing that we do for your projects, minimal, but still it will get you a little bit of attention. Actually, a lot of projects will do a crowdfunding campaign for marketing reasons. Maybe they don't even need the funds. I've seen projects that are extremely well funded, VC raised, kind of well funded projects that do a crowdfunding campaign to attract their early users and to attract their early fan base. So yeah, so that's kind of what we do for you. We like to keep it minimal though, because we don't want to be seen to encourage some participation in some projects and not in others. And now there's a lot of projects, so it's becoming trickier to kind of promote them all. So we try to to stay neutral to some extent as well. But you're definitely going to get an early group of people who will check out your project at the very least. So yeah, that's what we do, and it's beneficial to a lot of early stage companies.
Okay, but you're not playing favorites. That's good.
No, we can't play favorites. We try and stay extremely neutral. Anybody is allowed to launch a campaign on Bonded as long as it's legal and as long as they do their KYC forms. And then whether you get funded, whether you're successful or not, is completely up to the community. So we do a little bit of minimal marketing for you, but ultimately the power is in the hands of the community. So that's how we keep it.
Okay, yeah, it totally makes sense. By the way, also you mentioned that NFTs are involved, right? Because people get the NFT when they participate in the crowdfunding campaign. But as we both know, NFTs, they're kind of already a questionable topic in the space, right? Some people think they're dead, some people think they're evil, some people love them.
That's right.
But what's your point of view here? How do you see the place of NFTs, the crowdfunding in general? Like, how do you see the future of it?
NFTs for me, it's just a technology. It's just a piece of technology. What NFTs mean and what they symbolize is going to change radically. It's a case by case basis. There is no such thing as like NFTs are unpopular these days. I think that's just the current NFT projects that have been popular are now unpopular. But that doesn't mean that NFTs in and of themselves are, it's not a doesn't mean anything. So I think there was some cartoon that I saw where they drew an elephant and there's 10 people around the elephant and they're all looking at different parts of the elephant and they say, oh, it's a giant, it's a snake looking at the tail, it's a sort of a Bigfoot looking at the foot. That's how I feel about NFTs. There is no such thing as it's each a case by case basis, project by project, what it offers you, what you can get from it. And I think basically a lot of NFTs up until this stage have been extremely vacuous. Here's this project, it's a monkey, and everybody that has this monkey is going to get going to be able to go to cool parties. Just like ultimately, you can go to cool parties anyway. But I think when it offers, rewards into your product and into your project, which has nothing to do with NFTs, long-term ownership-based rewards or in-game rewards or any kind of creative rewards, obviously you need to be able to trust that the project creators are going to deliver that rewards. And one of the key ways that you can do that is via crowdfunding, because if enough people trust that the project is going to deliver their rewards, then they hit their goal and the NFTs are minted. And if enough people don't trust that the project creator will deliver, then the project will not reach its campaign goal and everybody will get reimbursed and the NFTs never even get minted in the first place. So that's the first barrier to rug pulls and to nonsense projects. And it's just, an NFT is only as good as what it delivers to you and what it gets to you. And I think so far they've been tremendously vacuous, primarily because they've been built on other chains that haven't carried a lot of meaning to NFTs. And I think Funded is trying to change that. Funded is trying to say your NFT is your ticket to your rewards for participating in a crowdfunding campaign and for helping a project out early. And yeah,
So it's all about utility for you, right? Utility matters.
it's everything. It's otherwise, what is an NFT? It's totally useless. There's nothing, it's a proof of participation that I can resell on a secondary marketplace that gives me access to certain utilities, benefits, rewards, ownerships that I don't get without it. And either I claim all of those things, I claim my reward, I claim my ownership, I claim my tokens, whatever it is, or I can decide to sell it and to sell that on, which is what the power of NFTs are. It's the ability to resell and the ability to have it indisputably without any kind of hacking possible throughout time, forever, if I want to. So that's all it is. Everything else is vacuous.
Definitely agree on this. By the way, you mentioned that you have this protection, right, in the type of the contract itself,
Yep.
that if enough people don't trust the project, then the crowdfunding is not complete, NFTs are not minted, and whatever, right? You didn't achieve your goal. Did you have cases like this, or like, do you have many in general? And what do you like? How do you comfort these people that actually are not able to complete their goal?
Well, first of all, I've personally failed a couple of crowdfunding campaigns, so I wouldn't. And I've seen people fail and come back and do it again and succeed afterwards. So I've seen all sorts of stuff, and it really doesn't mean anything. Sometimes it's just because you were too ambitious with your goal. Sometimes it's because your project isn't worthwhile, and that's great feedback in and of itself. If not enough people think the rewards that you're providing are worthwhile to participate, then probably you need to rethink your project in its entire essence, because it's not going to be delivering the kind of attention that you need it to be delivering in order for it to be successful. So it's a great feedback loop for entrepreneurs and for project creators, a great way to measure the audience for your product. And that's what I've seen. So I mean, yeah, comforting some of the projects that have failed. And I've seen some really good ones that really deserve to make it that have failed for all kinds of reasons. But yeah,
So even if you failed once, it's not the reason to not come back again and try again, right?
you can come back again as many times as you like, but I would recommend, you know, if you failed, it's probably for a reason. And so rethink something in your products, rethink something in your strategy, come back, try again. And I've seen it work. Sometimes it's just a case of lowering your goal, which makes sense. Sometimes it's a case of rethinking your rewards. Sometimes it's a case of improving your marketing. And sometimes it's just because your project isn't worthwhile enough and people don't want it enough. And that might be harsh truth or harsh, tough pill to swallow, but it's best to swallow it without anybody getting hurt. Nobody loses. You try, you don't hit your goal, everybody gets reimbursed, nothing ever gets minted. No problem. There's no harm in the crowdfunding model if it fails. So, and that's probably the difference between funded and a lot of crowdfunding platforms is, or Web3 crowdfunding platforms. They don't have a minimum threshold of any kind or sufficient, in my opinion, to rid a lot of the nonsense projects.
Yeah, I love this idea and I love this concept. We need definitely less harm in crypto for
Absolutely.
everyone.
Yeah, I agree. And it's proving to work quite well on funded because it means that the successful campaigns that are available for secondary trading, by definition, are pretty high quality because they've hit a certain threshold. Enough people have put their trust in this project and in this company for it to work, so for it to achieve secondary resales. So yeah, it's a good model.
Last couple of questions. Do you have any projects right now that you're bullish on the way you're bullish on your own startup funded?
Yeah, definitely. I do. I want to be careful because I don't want to give any projects that I've done a funded round because I don't want to be seen to be encouraging. But there's some really cool ones there as well. Let me think. What am I really particularly bullish on? I'm bullish on Carbon Crowd. It's a ICP based. It's trying to crack sustainability in crypto and in ICP specifically, and to make the blockchain network net zero. Very cool. It needs to happen for blockchain to have a future. So I'm really bullish on that kind of project. Anything sustainability related with Web3 and with crypto is fascinating to me. What else am I particularly bullish on?
I
Um,
actually know this project. I know
oh
this
yeah,
project and we want to invite them to the podcast. So
invite
hopefully
them.
we'll be able to record an episode with them.
They're fascinating projects. So that I'm quite bullish on. It's something that needs to happen. Basically, is the long story short of it. Gaming, I'm very big on gaming. I think that crypto gaming, is where the spark will come from for all the rest to ensue. Like I say, Cubetopia, I love. Dragons is coming to ICP, which I'm very excited about. And then I'm bullish. Well, I'm bullish on non-custodial dexes, which I think are fascinating. Decentralized exchanges. I work very closely with IC Lighthouse. That's great team, fantastic product. Anything relating to non-custodial decentralized exchanges, I think is wonderful. So yeah.
You mentioned that you work closely with them. Do you do some kind of consulting for crowdfunding for them? And like in general, is it possible to get a consulting from you if someone
Oh yeah.
wants to fundraise with Funded?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a whole team that does it, that does that. We essentially will help you onboard to the funded platform. We'll review your projects. We'll review your rewards. We'll advise in any way we can. And there's a team that does this. So as soon as you've submitted your project, you can go on the website, submit a crowdfund. Once you do that, that team will reach out to you and we'll probably schedule a call if you want one. Sometimes people want to just get it out quickly, which is fine, of course. But if you want one, you can get one. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Any last words of advice for anyone who wants to launch a crowdfunding campaign?
Think it through, think through your rewards. Do it at the right time as well. Sometimes timing is the issue. Don't do it too early where people aren't aware of your product and it's too new and too in the idea stage. Sometimes it can work, but mostly it tends to fall short of people's expectations. I would say the perfect time is kind of post idea stage, early versions of the application, but still, not quite where it needs to be, hence why people would need funds. But just show the public kind of what the product will be like, some early previews, maybe some early functionality. That's kind of the perfect time to do a crowdfunding campaign. So timing is a big one as well. And if you're trying to build on ICP, then reach out to the community, reach out to all the builders, people who are trying to build integrations for you to make life easier for you to build your dApp. Connect to IC is a great example. It's a simple integration that helps you integrate all of the major wallets on ICP into your dApp. Fantastic product. And there's tons of small integrations and apps like that that are meant to help people who are trying to build on IC. So just reach out, find them, and integrate them or work with them. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Luke. It was exciting to chat with you and super, super helpful. A lot of valuable information. I really hope that together we manage to inspire a few more people to go do crowdfunding campaigns and maybe also look into building something on ICP. Thank you so much for joining us.
No worries. Thank you for having me. Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, like and follow us for more. We also have a newsletter and a Telegram channel. Check it out at web3marketingpodcast.com. See you in the next episode.